Welcome, 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 everybody. Welcome to Her Money and Investing Show with yours truly, Jessica Perone, founder of Her Financial IQ, where we're making money and investing concepts fun and approachable. To catch up on past episodes or to even check out my course offerings, please go to herfiniq.com. Here at Her Financial IQ, we have an amazingly supportive community of women. So as you come into the stream, introduce yourself, feel free to ask questions during the broadcast, and I do my best to weave them in. Sometimes when I'm going down one of my rabbit holes, I completely forget to check the chat, and then I have all these questions, but no, for the most part, I do like to check the chat, and I love the contributions and all the comments. So please feel free. I also really love to hear how I'm doing. And if there's any topics that you want to know more about in the future, I have some really great guests coming up on in the next few months. I'm so grateful for my friends coming up and saying, hey, yes, I'll be on the Her Money and Investing Show. So some topics that we'll be talking about is next week with Mr. John Netto. He'll be talking about economics in the kitchen. Yes, and how economics affects your budget, ladies. He is an economic whiz and a CNBC contributor. So it's going to be a fun one. We're also going to be talking about bonds for beginners. We have how to say bye-bye to credit card debt. Oh, so many talented people are going to be guests coming up. So definitely make sure that you are on our mailing list to stay, or follow on social to stay up to date on the topics and shows as they come up. Now, today's topic is all about teaching your teen to make their money work. And speaking of teens, I had the honor to speak to 30 young ladies of the Chatham, New Jersey Troop 280 last week. And they were fantastic. I loved them, and big thank you for hosting me, you guys. But what was interesting is when I start these talks off with the young ladies, I start by asking them what they want to be when they grow up. And in this group last week, they said some wonderful things. They said they wanted to be artists, graphic designers, doctors. I think there was like a marine biologist in there, which is STEM, which is science. I think I got an accountant, which is a little bit finance. I kind of was like, is that finance or is that? But I'm going to say, yes, it is finance. But like going through all of these responses, I realized there was only one accountant in 30. No one else said banking, investing, or any other finance careers. And when I posed the question to them, they said, "Oh, it's too hard. Oh, we're not good at math." And I was amazed. I was amazed. And this reminded me of when I started talking to moms on the soccer fields about teaching women about how to invest, and the anxiety that concept even brought up to women. And that in turn had me think about a study I saw about girls and math. And I'm actually going to put this link in the chat here. So if you guys want to, you can like read it for yourself. There you go. But basically, Joe Boiler, a professor at Stanford University who specializes in math instruction, has long sounded alarms about how mothers inadvertently transmit their anxiety about math onto their daughters. She argues that it's harmful to daughters when mothers say they are not good at math. And this made me ask the question to myself, and kind of aloud, are mothers inadvertently transmitting their anxiety about investing and finance and money matters onto their daughters as well? And this in turn had me think about another UBS study that I had read that stated that, and this is from 2021, but it found that 49% of women let their husbands take the lead when it comes to investing. And we're not talking 1950s. No, we're talking about 2021. So I'm here to say, and I'm here to say to the moms, getting your daughters investing starts at home with you. And I'm actually super lucky. I grew up in a household where I had a mom and a grandmother who were both very strong at math. And they instilled this sense of being good at math in me. And what doing in turn is I am instilling the knowledge and the confidence in my daughters that they can be investors as well. And I'm very proud of this role. So you're probably wondering, you're probably saying, well, Jessica, how do I show confidence, or how do I get my teens, and this part can be for any team, honestly, as a mom that doesn't really know much about investing? Well, that is what this second part of the show is, to give you resources and ideas on how to get your teens and your daughters investing. So the first aspect of investing really is saving, because building wealth is all about putting your surplus to work. And that comes from savings. So really the first item that you can talk to with your teen about is saving rules. So the typical basic rule for adults is to divide up after-tax income and allocate it so that 50% are allocated to needs, 30% are allocated to wants, and 20% are allocated to savings. Now, if you are at home and you don't have all these expenses, well, then I would say that, and this is something that I talk to my teens about, is that if they are living at home and have no expenses, I want them to be saving at least 50%. I want them to be saving 50%, and that other 50%, they can spend on whatever their little heart's desires. So with that said, you're like, okay, I got this. Okay, I got this done. We're talking about savings with my young lady or young man. And so what are we going to do with that money? Well, what's interesting is that actually, before even going to investing, I like to talk about just savings accounts with teens. And in my teen classes, I start off with talking about savings accounts. Now, there are actually traditional savings accounts and high yield savings accounts. So your traditional savings accounts are typically offered by the banks that you see in the community that have the storefronts. So those are typically your TD banks, your Chase, your Wells Fargo, etc. So those would be your traditional banks. There are also your online banks, which typically offer high yield savings accounts. And if you go to bankrate.com, and I'm actually going to put that in the chat right now, bankrate.com, you can actually shop for the highest yielding savings accounts that are out there. It's a really super great resource. So what you can do with your teen is actually look at your current savings accounts. Look at the APY. It's a lot, like I said, a lot of the traditional savings accounts are not yielding as high as a high yield savings account. And you can have this conversation and you can teach them that they can actually shop for higher APYs. Yes, you can do that. And a lot of people, not just women, not just teens, don't realize that they can shop for the highest yield. So the other thing that we can talk about, and maybe I should have flipped these points around a little bit, is talk about life stages. Talk about the life stages that they will go through in life that they need to save for. And this is actually a case study I do in my teen classes where we actually talk about saving for the car. And we talk about whether or not we want to be looking at a new car, at a used car. Once we buy the car, what other costs are associated with it. So whether it's gas, whether it's insurance, et cetera. Maintenance, those are all yearly costs that go into it that a lot of teens don't think of. They're like, oh yeah, okay, now I understand. And you see these like aha moments, right? So when you're thinking about life stages, right, you're thinking about, okay, do I need to have these monies sooner or later? Right. So for life stages or savings goals that are in the near term, a high yield savings account may be a better option than, for example, someone with a long-term perspective. So say your teen is putting monies into an IRA from their summer earnings, and they're like, this is going to be my retirement. I'm not going to have to touch this for a really, really long time. Then those are monies that are super good fits for potentially for investing. So talking about life stages and when your teen will need access to these monies is really helpful to have them start thinking about savings accounts versus investing accounts as well. So another aspect that I love to do, and it's interesting, I love listening to financial radio. And I listen to my Bloomberg radio every morning. And I also listen to it in the car when I'm driving my teens to their activities. And what's interesting is that, because it's playing in the background, random conversations that have to do with economics or investing come up just by playing it in the background. So, for example, I don't remember exactly what it was, but I feel like this week there's been a lot of retail earnings. So like the earnings from like Abercrombie came out, and like my daughter, who's like all about Abercrombie, she like perked up. She's like, what they say about Abercrombie? So it's just like funny how the teens, by listening to it in the background through osmosis, will pick up things here and there. And also by having it play in the background, like for example, if you're having a news channel in the background, well, they may be up to speed on news. If you have like the scandalous, whatnot out there on TV, like the soaps, maybe that's what they'll sort of relate to. So it's really nice to have that sort of learning by osmosis in the background. So like I said, CNBC for TV, if you still have TVs in your kitchen or whatnot, even playing CNBC on the TV, and then Bloomberg radio in the car. So that was a way to sort of like get them thinking and get them sort of listening and hearing about the markets in the background. So going forward, I'm going to talk about some suggestions on investing. Now, keep in mind, when teens are investing, you as the parent need to open the account. You need to be the custodian. Okay. And so there are different ways that they can invest in investment accounts, but just keep in mind that you need to be the custodian for all the things that I'm going to be discussing after this point. Now, say your teen has summer earnings that are on the books, right? They are having their taxes being taken out of it. Well, then they may be eligible for tax advantage accounts such as our IRAs. Now, IRAs can be opened with a financial advisor, a robo-advisor, or even a retail brokerage. But if the teen is actually making money off the books, right? It's not taxable income. Well, then they can still open accounts with, for example, a financial advisor, a robo advisor, a retail brokerage. It just would not have that tax advantage shell of an IRA. Okay. So, with that said, it can be either way. Both types of accounts can have managed accounts. So having someone manage those investments for your team. So for example, the robo advisor or a financial advisor would work with your team to the financial advisor would work with your team to invest those monies into like ETFs and mutual funds. The robo advisor would do it automated. They would ask questions, and then based on the risk assessment of your team, automatically invest in ETFs and mutual funds as well. But a retail brokerage would allow your team to do self-directed investing or place the buy and sell orders themselves and manage the account themselves. And with a retail brokerage account, they can invest in stocks, they can invest in ETFs, and they can also invest in mutual funds. Now, it really just depends on how adventurous your teen is. Some teens are like the set it and forget it types, and that might be better suited for managed accounts like a robo-advisor or a financial advisor. But if your teen is really super into the markets and wants to be buying and selling stocks and really playing around and getting their feet wet, well, then a retail brokerage account may be a good fit for them. So that is the brief skinny on those. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to put in the chat. If you have any other questions, feel free to DM me through LinkedIn, through Facebook, or even through YouTube. I'm sorry, I don't know why I had a blank on there, but that is it. Now, another type of account that you can talk to your teen about is their 529 college savings plan. So not only can you talk about what their 529 is invested in, but you can also talk to them about what it's going to cover at college. And it's never too early to start having that conversation with your teens. It's almost like full circle with those life stage conversations as well. Now, lastly, especially with females, there is a fear of financial advisors. And I feel like if more teen girls went to the financial advisor earlier, it would they would get the feeling that the financial advisor is just another tool in their wellness toolbox. Just like they go to the doctor for, anything that has to do with their bodies. They go to the dentist for anything that has to do with their teeth. They might go to the spa for anything that has to do with their face, right? The dermatologist. They will familiarize themselves and get accustomed to having a financial advisor in their lives and not be afraid of going to see a financial advisor when they grow up and they have investable monies as well. So taking your child on a field trip to your financial advisor's office is actually a really great suggestion. And even like have them prepare a bunch of like questions ahead of time. You don't have to, but interview the financial advisor. I know a lot of financial advisors actually get kicks out of this. You could also bring them to come visit me too, virtually, of course. Since my offices are virtual. But it's a really great idea to have a team get familiarized with financial advisors and what they do and the type of conversations that they have. And then if you don't have a financial advisor, you can always take them to a friend that's a financial advisor or even a relative who is a financial advisor as well. So What's interesting is I've been thinking about this whole like STEM and math and finance, especially after this last appearance last week. And I found this quote by Zaha Hadid, and she was an Iraqi British architect, artist, designer, and recognized as a major figure in architecture in the late 20th and 21st centuries. And she has this quote. She said, "Women are always told, you're not going to make it. It is too difficult. You can't do that. Don't enter this competition. You'll never win it." They need confidence in themselves and people around them to help them to get on. Let me repeat that. Women are always told, you're not going to make it. It's too difficult. You can't do that. Don't enter this competition. You will never win it. They need confidence in themselves and people around them to help them get on it. And circling back with my talk with the young ladies of the Chatham Troop 280 last week, I encouraged them, no matter what their career is, whether it is medical, whether it is scientist, whether it's homemaker, mother, wife, no matter what career they choose for themselves, that they can also wear the investor hat. And guess what? At the end of our talk, when I asked them how many of them will consider being investors, more than half of them raised their hands and said, yes, they would wear that hat too. And I am honored to be on this journey, working towards changing that status quo. And I'm so thrilled at the community we are building here at HerFinIQ of women committed to financial health, growth, and freedom. Join us again in 2 weeks on June 8th with our next episode, Economics in the Kitchen, with my dear friend, author, economist, and frequent CNBC contributor, John Netto. If you want to continue your money and investing journey outside the show, check out my personal finance and investing classes at HerFinIQ.com. Sign up for my mailing list to stay informed about upcoming shows, interviews, panels, workshops, and announcements. And make sure to follow me on all social media platforms at HerFinIQ. In closing, I'm Jessica Perrone, founder of Her Financial IQ. You've been watching the Her Money and Investing Show. Together, we're learning to build wealth. Have a wonderful day, guys. Bye now.